In Make Civil Servant, you write that in 1653, when God took a turn for the worse, the gusto with which the English took to a life of self-restraint undoubtedly contained an element of debauchery. If we don't suffer, how shall we know that we live?
That's true.
What was that? That God took a turn for the worse in 1653?
I should think it's when the Puritans took over, when Oliver Cromwell ruled England. I don't remember, but I should think that's what it means. You see, the English had believed in happiness under the reign of Charles I. And men wore lace right down onto their knuckles and wigs. But when Oliver Cromwell came in, they shaved their heads and wore grey. Puritanism. And that's when they came to America, when they couldn't bear the debauchery of Charles I. And the Americans are puritanical, even now.
Also in New York?
Well, they condemn Mr. Clinton on the grounds that he has had affairs with various women. They don't criticize the women at all. I don't know why.
It's much worse about them. That they tell about it. Even
their behavior seems to me to be terrible. I mean, in the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, if anyone had caught sight of her sexual apparatus and had talked about it, he would have been beheaded. None of those women has been beheaded. Well, they all put together and chopped up like parsley. The privilege of being in the love of that wonderful man who rules the world. You think it would silence anybody. But no.
It's even more strange that they want their president to be like that he had never touched anybody but his wife.
Yeah. Weird. A woman rang me up and talked to me about it and talked about his marriage vows at the end of the 20th century, when every American woman knows that marriage is for a little while and that alimony is forever.
Clinton was in Denmark last year and he was very popular there.
Yeah?
Much more popular than our Prime Minister.
Yeah? You see, it's envy that makes the world hate him, because everybody in the White House is middle-aged, wears spectacles, and is bald, except him. They did the same with Mr. Kennedy. They killed him because he was young.
One egg over.
Once you felt guilt when you went to cinema. You went there alone?
Oh yes. You mustn't enjoy yourself. That's not English at all. What would you do if God plunged his arm through the roof of the Gomos cinema and said, "And you, what are you doing?" If you're with someone, you say, and then he knows you've gone for their sake, and you are performing an act of self-sacrifice. But if you're alone, you've gone there to enjoy yourself, which will never do.
It's in the same life. If we don't suffer, how shall we know that we live?
Exactly.
When you go to the cinema here, do you feel guilt?
Here I don't go alone because it's so expensive. So I go with someone who will pay. But I've now learned that I can get in for nothing if I show my Screen Actors Guild card.
Screen Actors Guild?
A Screen
Are you a
Actors...
member of the union?
The union.
Yeah.
An actors union called the Screen Actors Guild. And you have a card which says you're paid up till such and such a time. Now, I didn't want to belong to the Screen Actors Guild, but Miss Clawson said I must. So I bowed my head and belonged to it. But I dislike unions, because unions demand money with menaces. In most countries, that's a crime. I like to think my employers give me money because they're sorry for me. Or perhaps because they like me. But not because they're afraid.
No. Have you been to the cinema recently?
I've been to the movies where I saw Godzilla, which is very noisy.
Is it a new version of King Kong?
Rather like it. But I can remember when I first saw King Kong, I took a friend with me. And in a very dramatic moment, when a certain Miss Fay lay gibbering across Mr. Kong's wrist, my friend said in a voice shrill with irritation, "I can't think what he sees in her."
Also, another new movie about meteor. They foresee that
Deep Impact. The movies get bigger and louder, and larger things get destroyed. You see, when I was young, the world was very feminine, and movie star meant a woman. Men were in support of. The only male movie star I can remember was Rudolph Valentino. Now, I'm not suggesting that he was kinky, but his appeal, his image, was feminine. He was cruel, withdrawn, capricious, strange, and all that. And that's because movies were made for a middle-aged, middle-class woman with a broken heart. Now movies are made, the world's become very masculine, and movies are made for boys of 15 who want to break everything. So they love Mr. Schwarzenegger and Mr. Stallone, who have only to walk down the street and the buildings fall apart on either side.
They build these tall buildings and then they like to see them being destroyed on film.
That's right. In Godzilla you have a vision of the Pan Am building with a hole in the middle of it. You see the Chrysler building topple like that. And everybody practically cheered. And I don't know why, but they love to see everything destroyed.
If it happened in real life, they would be sorry.
You see, they were very worried when Allah tried to bring down one of the topless towers of Manhattan.
The god?
The god of the Arabs.
Yes. World Trade Center.
Yeah. They tried to bomb one of them so that it would fall, and they didn't succeed. But if it had fallen, it would have killed not only everybody in the building, but everybody for miles round. I never understand why God is so angry. Do you know that Allah promises you a seat in paradise if you murder a Christian? Now, if I were God, and I never can imagine why I am not, I should say, well, shop around. If you find anything you like better, stay with it. I mean, what have I got to lose if I'm God?
I don't believe all the Muslims think that if you kill a Christian, you will have a seat in heaven. But a few, I don't know how many, but not all of them.
Oh. I don't think they can be true Muslims.
There must be more Allahs.
The God of the Jews said, thy God am a jealous God. Thou shalt have none of the gods but me. Why? Why make such a fuss? You're God. You can do no wrong. They're all going to do what you say, whatever happens.
Perhaps he could improve. If somebody chose another God, he could improve himself a little.
I suppose that they're afraid up there. I never understand it. I wonder if he'd bring me some whiskey, which would help my throat. He's gone away. If he comes back, I'll order a whiskey.
Whiskey and water?
Thank you.
I would like that too. Banana pancakes.
Ooh. Hey.
Would you like some dessert?
No, I won't have any. I'll just have a whiskey. You'll have some pancakes if he comes back, Will.
Is whiskey your dessert?
Hmm?
Is whiskey like your dessert?
That's right, that's my dessert. Could they have banana pancakes?
Yes. 2 orders?